So we got a really fun recipe for you guys today. We are doing our take on the classic custard cream. So it's a two-part recipe. So first up, we're going to make a lemon and thyme shortbread. We're going to be using our Kenwood chef, and we're going to be using the paddle attachment. See the paddle attachment on, and we'll get started. For this dough, we will start off by simply mixing together our butter and our sugar. So we're using 55 grams of icing sugar and 100 grams of butter. Best to have the butter at room temperature, because you'll find if it's really cold from the fridge, it's going to take much longer for the dough to come together. As the butter and sugar is mixing, we're going to finely chop our thyme. Once the butter and sugar has been combined, we're going to simply add the thyme and our grated zest of a lemon. Next in is 125 grams of flour and a pinch of salt. To bind everything together, we just simply need 1 egg yolk. Just mix on a low speed to combine everything together. So once everything's combined, our shortbread is good to go. Just a little bit of flour onto the work surface. So once you bring the shortbread together, everyone's tendency is to kind of bring it together until I get a little ball, but you're going to find it's going to set quite hard in the fridge. Because you're going to have to roll it out flat anyways, you're giving yourself an awful lot of work to do, so it kind of sets like a little rock. So best thing to do is just flatten it slightly. Half the hard work is done, wrap it up into the fridge, and then it'll be ready to go. We're going to chill it for about half an hour to an hour at least. This can always be done the day before. You could also double up the recipe and freeze it, where it'll keep for about 3 months in the freezer. So our shortbread is made, it's in the fridge. In the meantime, we're going to make our crème patisserie. So crème patisserie is pastry cream. It's a must-have in any pastry kitchen. So versatile, great in donut fillings, amazing custard filling, which is going to be perfect for our custard cream. So for the crème patisserie, we're using 50% milk and 50% cream. So we've got 250 milk, 250 cream. We're simply going to warm that to just about a simmer in a medium-sized saucepan. Then we'll add a little bit of vanilla extract. While that is warming, we are going to combine together our icing sugar, flour, and we're using 4 eggs, so 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks. Now we're not whisking it to like ribbon stage to get it low the volume, because we're not looking to create any air here. We just mix it enough till everything is combined. Our milk and cream has just started to simmer. So very simply what we're going to just do is pour in maybe about a half or so into our flour, egg, sugar mix. Whisk it in, it'll just help to loosen the mix. And then all of this is going to go straight back into that saucepan. So once it goes back on the heat, you need to keep it moving, keep it stirring, because if you kind of just leave it sitting there, basically you'll end up making scrambled eggs. It's important that you do cook it out sufficiently, because later when we blitz in the butter, it will thin the mix down, and if you haven't cooked it out sufficiently here, your crème patisserie is going to be quite thin and it won't kind of hold its shape, particularly when it's piped. So once you kind of think it's there, keep going for about another minute. So that's it. And even off the heat, because there's a good bit of heat still in the pan, just keep it moving for about 30 seconds or so. That's what we're looking for. So we're just going to transfer it to a bowl, so we'll allow it to chill, and I'm going to cover it with some cling film. And you want to make sure the cling film is actually in contact with the surface of our crème patisserie, which will just stop a skin forming. So that's going into the fridge for 30 minutes, just to chill, take a little bit of the heat out of it, and then we're going to blend in the butter. So our crème patisserie is ready. Now it's not completely cold, there's still a little bit of warmth in the bowl, but that's what we want, because we need a little bit of warmth, which is going to help incorporate all our butter. And simply using the blender. We blended in the butter now, and you can see how it's transformed. It's changed, it's beautifully and silky, it's shiny, it's got a little glossiness to it. So our dough has been nicely chilled. Depending on when you make this, if you make it overnight, you might find it quite hard. So you may need to let it sit out for a couple, maybe 15, 20 minutes before you plan to roll it. So just a little bit of flour on the table. And when you're rolling out, don't apply too much pressure. Take your time, nice and gradual. You don't want to put too much pressure as you roll, because otherwise you can cause the shortbread to crack and break. And each time, keep it moving. Basically means you know that the shortbread's not sticking to the counter. And then just before you get ready to cut it, make sure it's being moved around. So as you cut it, then it'll actually release cleanly. So depending on how big you want your custard creams to be, just choose the cutter to the size that you want. With the trimmings, you can reform it. You will feel the dough getting considerably softer again, because it softens quite quickly. So if needs be, if you need to pop it back in the fridge just to allow it to firm up to make it easier to work with, you can. But as you roll out the second time, you just need to be nice and gentle. So we're going to bake these in a preheated oven at 175 degrees for 12 minutes. So our shortbread is baked. We're just going to allow them to cool now. And then just to finish off our custard creams, very simply, it's our creme patisserie into a piping bag. So when you're piping, just aim towards the center, maintain the pressure, and it'll gently force the mix out. And don't be shy, be generous with your filling. Set the other on top, squash it together, and you've got perfect custard cream. So that's our take on the classic custard cream, lemon and thyme shortbread filled with decadent vanilla creme patisserie.